After successfully conquering the school's big shot, I immediately revealed my true colors, starting to boss him around as I pleased. I forbade him from skipping school to go to internet cafes, demanded he appear immediately when I called, and he wasn't allowed to get angry with me. Despite all this, the affection points above his head continued to steadily increase. I was convinced Nathaniel Tate loved me to death. It wasn't until a year later, when the system rebooted, that I confidently bragged about the school's big shot's affection points. The system stared at the glaring red number above his head for a long time in silence. Finally, it gritted its teeth and said, "What the hell? This is his annoyance level." Hearing this, I immediately denied it. "No way, Nathaniel Tate clearly loves me to death." The system reluctantly replied, "No mistake, that is indeed his annoyance level. The number glowing pink is the affection level." Seeing my silence, it sighed, "This is also my fault. I was too rushed back then and accidentally left you with an annoyance level display." I had no choice but to ask, "So, can I check his affection points now?" The system sheepishly replied, "The main system is currently experiencing issues, so it's temporarily unavailable. But looking at how high his annoyance level is, I doubt he has much affection for you. Sophia Maxwell, what exactly did you do to annoy him that much?" I fell silent again, gradually recalling everything I had done over the past year. When I pursued him, I relied entirely on pretending to be sweet, gentle, and clever. The moment he accepted my confession, I revealed my true self. No more pretending, I bossed him around every single day. His dyed hair bothered me, so I forced him to dye it black. I wouldn't let him go to internet cafes. He was only allowed to go to the library with me. If he showed even a hint of reluctance, I would throw a tearful tantrum. A year passed, and the school's big shot, who used to skip school for internet cafes, was transformed by me into a model boyfriend, compliant with 24 rules. Moreover, the number above his head continued to steadily increase. Only now did I realize that his love for me was just an illusion. Nathaniel Tate's annoyance level towards me had long since exploded. Perhaps he regretted being with me. He was probably figuring out how to break up with someone as troublesome as me. The system added, "Sophia Maxwell, you need to control your temper. With a rebellious school big shot like him, you need to go along with him to lower his annoyance level. Only then can you gradually make him fall for you, understand?" Before I could even nod, Nathaniel Tate's voice rang out from behind me. "What are you spacing out for?" I jolted back to reality and saw him, stony-faced, finishing packing my school bag. Seeing my lack of reaction, he looked at me coldly. "Didn't you say you wanted to go to the library?" Just then, his phone rang. Nathaniel Tate answered, and I heard the voices of his friends on the other end. "Nathaniel, coming to the internet cafe to game tonight. Are you really not coming?" Nathaniel Tate, with his compliant black hair, looked incredibly displeased. "No, I have to take my girlfriend to the library." His friends sighed in exasperation. "Nathaniel has really changed. What's so great about that stuffy library? A school's big shot going to the library. People will laugh if word gets out." Nathaniel heard this and chuckled wryly, lowering his gaze to me. "If I don't go, she'll get angry. Who's going to placate me then?" After saying that, he was about to hang up. I finally snapped back to reality and quickly stopped him. "Wait." Nathaniel Tate, holding the phone, said helplessly, "What's bothering you now, my dear princess?" I took the school bag from his hand, took a deep breath, and looked at him seriously but gently. "You don't need to go to the library with me anymore. Go to the internet cafe." Nathaniel Tate's movements finally froze. He rarely showed surprise, but he looked at me astonished. "Are you sure?" I replied frankly. "Yes, I'm sure. I'm going to the library with my best friend, and we're also having dinner together. You don't need to come along." Nathaniel Tate lowered his eyes, intently looking into mine, as if trying to discern whether I genuinely wanted to hang out with my friend or if I was just being sulky. But from beginning to end, my expression remained completely normal. He asked one more time, "So I'm really going?" I nodded. Go ahead." He finally let out a sigh of relief, a hint of joy in his eyes. "We really should give each other some space. All right, after you two finish eating, I'll come find you." I nodded obediently again. It wasn't until evening, after finishing dinner with lamb neem, that I habitually thought of calling him to pick me up. Then I suddenly remembered he was probably having a great time gaming. If I called and ruined his fun, wouldn't he be even more annoyed with me? After much deliberation, Lamb Neem and I still took a taxi back. Once back at the dorm, I quickly went to shower. Stepping out after my shower, I heard my roommate call out, "Sophia, your boyfriend is waiting downstairs and he looks really anxious." I was stunned. Wasn't he still gaming at this hour? In the past, whenever Nathaniel Tate went to an internet cafe, he'd stay all night. I opened my phone and discovered he had called me countless times. The last few messages were, "Answer the phone, why didn't you call me after dinner? Where are you now? Who brought you back? What are you doing? You're not answering me. Didn't you agree to let me go to the internet cafe? Are you giving me the cold shoulder? Fine, let's not talk anymore." 15 minutes later, he messaged again, "Sweetheart, come downstairs." After reading the messages, I was afraid I would make Nathaniel Tate misunderstand and get even more annoyed. So I immediately changed clothes and rushed downstairs. Nathaniel Tate stood under the streetlights, his face expressionless, looking towards me. Before he could even speak, I ran up, hurriedly explaining, "I was just showering. I didn't mean to ignore you. After dinner, Lam Neem and I just came back together since it was on the way. I didn't want to trouble you to specifically come pick me up." After delivering such a gentle and thoughtful explanation, I immediately looked up expectantly at the number above his head. But the value hadn't decreased at all. It seemed he was still very annoyed with me. After hearing my explanation, Nathaniel Tate said nothing more. It was as if the person who had bombarded me with questions on the phone just now wasn't him. He just handed me the small cake in his hand. "Well, it's good that you're not angry. It's cold outside, don't catch a cold. Take the cake and go back." If this were before, I probably would have continued clinging to him, spouting a bunch of nonsense, and I would have forced him to kiss me. I called it forcing because he always thought it was inappropriate in public. Back then, I'd drag him behind a tree and playfully insist, "What's inappropriate about it? Just a quick kiss, 1 second is enough." Nathaniel Tate would reluctantly give me a kiss. But now, I didn't dare to act up anymore. I just obediently took the cake, intending to turn and leave. The very next second, Nathaniel Tate pulled me back. I turned my head, confused. Then he quickly leaned down and placed a kiss on my lips. Seeing my stunned expression, he frowned. "What's wrong? Didn't you say I had to kiss you goodnight?" I took a few seconds to respond, remembering the system's instructions. I had to go along with him, no more forcing him. So I shook my head, seriously saying, "No need anymore, not in the future either." I tried to agree with his point of view. After all, it really wasn't appropriate in such a crowded place. Hearing this, Nathaniel Tate paused, his thin lips forming a straight line. He didn't say anything for a long time. I waited anxiously for a moment. Finally, I heard him calmly reply, "Oh, all right, it's fine if I don't kiss you." Back at the dorm, I finished tidying up and lay down on my bed. Normally, I would call him at this hour, telling him about everything that happened at school today. But then I remembered Nathaniel Tate had been preparing for a competition lately, so busy he didn't even have a minute to spare. After agonizing for a long time, I still bit the bullet and gave up the idea of calling him. I just picked a few interesting things, summarized them very briefly, and sent them over. Nathaniel Tate had always been a good listener, and unconsciously I ended up sending him a long message. He replied to each message, then suddenly asked, "Typing isn't tiring." Seeing this line, I froze. Sure enough, Nathaniel Tate still thought I messaged too much. Wasn't he subtly telling me to stop sending messages? I tried to suppress the bitterness in my heart and replied awkwardly, "It is a bit tiring." The other end immediately showed typing. But right after that, I sent another message. "Well, I'm going to sleep first. Good night." Nathaniel Tate's typing status disappeared. A long time later, he finally replied with one word, "Okay." In the following days, I seriously followed the system's instructions. I no longer acted wildly or clung to him everywhere. Instead, I went along with him on everything. I even proactively suggested, "Sweetheart, don't you like dyeing your hair? Now you can dye it any color you like." Nathaniel Tate was slightly surprised to hear this. "Didn't you not like me dyeing my hair?" I recalled the things I had done before. Back then, I forced him to dye his hair black. His shirt buttons had to be fastened all the way up to his neck, and I even made him wear black-rimmed glasses. I gradually transformed a school's big shot into a good student. While putting on his glasses, I'd say, "This gentle, scholarly style is the most handsome, don't you think? Understand." Nathaniel Tate didn't understand, but he still complied. But now I told him, "I'll like any color you dye it. Besides, with your face, you can pull off any color." Hearing this, Nathaniel Tate seemed very pleased, so that very day he went and dyed his hair metallic pink. The black-rimmed glasses came off. His sharp, aggressive face was fully revealed. His friends saw him and nodded in approval. That's more like it. This is what a school's big shot should look like. Nathaniel should have dropped that goody-two-shoes act a long time ago. The only thing was, despite all my efforts, Nathaniel Tate's annoyance level hadn't changed much. The system comforted me. It's okay, Sophia Maxwell. It's already good that it hasn't increased. Let's try a little harder. Until one evening my mother called me. Sophia, Aunt James is back in the country. Come have dinner with them. Fearing I wouldn't remember, Mom reminded me, it's the family that used to live next to us when you were little. You used to always follow their son around to play. I vaguely had some impression, so I nodded and agreed to go. After letting Nathaniel Tate know, I arrived at the designated restaurant. My parents and Aunt James's family were still as close as before, but since it had been a long time, I felt a bit awkward. Their son had apparently just returned from studying abroad this year. He didn't say much, but when talking to me, his tone was very gentle. After dinner, because I had classes the next day, I had to return to school. Aunt James immediately said, William James didn't drink, so let him drive you back. Before I could even refuse, William James picked up the car keys. Let's go. I had originally intended to call Nathaniel Tate, but seeing this, I decided against it. At school, since it was late, he drove me directly to the dorm downstairs. As we were talking, William James suddenly said, Sophia, why is that person staring at you so much? I followed his gaze and saw Nathaniel Tate leaning against a tree, his eyes fixed on me. He slowly approached, his metallic pink hair prominent in the night. Nathaniel Tate then slowly shifted his gaze to William James. Only then did I notice William James's attire. Black hair, black-rimmed glasses, and his shirt buttons fastened all the way up to his neck. William James subtly pulled me behind him and asked gently, Sophia, who is this person? His appearance perfectly matched the image of a gentle scholar. Nathaniel Tate didn't respond to him, just stared at him for a long time. Finally, he looked at me expressionlessly, his voice dripping with sarcasm. When you made me dye my hair black, you already had a specific template in mind, didn't you? I didn't understand at first, but the very next second, I saw the annoyance level above Nathaniel Tate's head, which had been stagnant for a long time, finally change. I watched in dismay as it surged by a large amount, almost reaching its explosive limit. The piercing alarm in my head blared, making me temporarily unable to hear what he was saying. I instinctively asked, What template? Seeing my bewildered expression, Nathaniel Tate scoffed, and his annoyance level immediately shot up to 99%. His eyes darkened. It was the first time he had ever been so fierce with me. I was so intimidated my mind went blank. I didn't even have time to process what he had just said. By the time I regained my senses, he had sent William James away, leaving just the two of us. Nathaniel Tate pulled me into a deserted, dark corner, using a tree to obscure us and pinned me against the wall. Who was that just now? My childhood friend. On his usually indifferent face, a rare hint of sarcasm appeared. Not understanding what this had to do with William James, I honestly replied, we used to play together when we were little. He just recently came back to the country. Nathaniel Tate tightened his grip on my wrist and asked, What about me? What do you consider me? He looked at me, enunciating each word. Sophia, for the past year you've been treating me like a dog to play with, haven't you? Was it fun? Making me dye my hair black, wear glasses, changing me into someone else. Hearing his words clearly, my heart sank further into despair. No wonder his annoyance level had shot up. It turned out he wanted to bring up old issues with me. Indeed, he was still resentful about me bossing him around and controlling him. But I had been trying to control myself lately. What would it take for Nathaniel Tate to finally forgive me? After a long time, he took a deep breath and calmly asked another question. Sophia, when you pursued me, who were you thinking of in your heart? Hearing this, I felt a pang of guilt. After all, my initial motive for pursuing him wasn't pure. I only wanted to complete the conquest mission and get the $1.25 million reward promised by the system. My family couldn't earn that much in a lifetime. Even spending $1.25 a month would be enough for over 80 years, enough for my parents and me to live comfortably. So when I started pursuing him, All I thought about was the $1.25 million. Normally, at this moment, I should say some sweet, coaxing words, telling him he was the only one in my heart. But looking into his eyes, I couldn't bring myself to lie. Nathaniel Tate lowered his gaze, seeing my silence, and let out a cold laugh. Guilty about what? Huh! With that, he leaned down and kissed me. To call it a kiss was an understatement. It was more like a bite. He bit so hard it wasn't even enjoyable. A year of being in love, he had indulged me so much that I almost forgot Nathaniel Tate was originally a wild dog. I could barely breathe, my back sliding down the wall. He released me for a moment, then pulled me back upright. His voice, both kissing and cold, commanded, "Stand still." With that, he leaned down to kiss me again. I could only wrap my arms around his neck, my fingertips clutching his dazzling metallic pink hair to keep my balance. My lips were bitten painfully, and a surge of anger rose within me. I wanted to yell at him, but seeing the glaring red annoyance level above his head, I suddenly understood that things were no longer as they used to be. I could only hold my head up and passively endure. It wasn't until Nathaniel Tate tasted the bitter saltiness that he abruptly stopped. Not bothering to wipe the tears from my face, I softly said, my voice choked, "I won't control you anymore, okay?" He reached out to wipe my tears, then scoffed. "You think saying things like that can threaten me?" I was stunned. "When did I threaten you?" But he didn't listen. He grabbed my hand and pulled me straight out of the school gates. "Save your crying for tonight, sweetheart." That night, Nathaniel Tate took me to the apartment he rented off campus. The room wasn't large, but it had all the necessary amenities. He helped me wash my face, then leaned down to kiss me. Nathaniel Tate had always treated me gently before, but that night, no matter how much I cried or struggled, he didn't stop. By the time it was all over, I was so tired I didn't want to move at all. Then I heard the system in my head excitedly exclaim, "Sophia Maxwell, Nathaniel Tate's annoyance level has dropped by 1%. The system excitedly chattered. 1% reduction at a time. Doesn't that mean 97 more times and his annoyance level will be completely gone? I, feeling sore all over, replied coldly to the system. Before I can even clear his annoyance level, your Sophia Maxwell will probably be dead. Despite saying that, I still moved into Nathaniel Tate's apartment, thinking every little bit of reduction helped. Because of this, I became even more careful, no longer checking where he went or what he did, and no longer bossing him around. Sometimes when he came home late, I would quickly and gently say, "It's okay, being a little late is fine." I thought this would earn me a smile, but to my surprise, Nathaniel Tate's expression only grew darker. In the nights that followed, he became even more intense. I nearly cried without tears, completely unaware of what I had done to anger him again. Until one evening, Nathaniel Tate didn't come home at all. He only sent me one message. "Got some things to deal with. Don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow." The system in my head excitedly explained. "Good opportunity. Nathaniel Tate, the long-lost young master, has been found and brought back by the Tate family. He's definitely going to have a hard time at his new home. Sophia Maxwell, if you comfort him a lot, won't his affection level rise?" But I waited until the next morning, and Nathaniel Tate still hadn't returned. He must not have finished dealing with the Tate family matters, so I went to the city library alone. In the afternoon, my phone ran out of battery. I simply left it charging and studied for several hours. In the evening, I finally finished studying and turned on my phone. I saw that Nathaniel Tate had sent me many messages. The last one was, "Where are you now?" "I'm coming to pick you up," I replied, slinging my bag over my shoulder and stepping out. Just as I reached the library door, someone called out from behind, "Sophia." I turned around and saw it was William James, whom I hadn't seen in a few days. He was carrying a few books in his arms, and as we walked out together, he casually asked, "Want to grab dinner with me?" I shook my head. "No thanks, my boyfriend is coming to pick me up shortly." He looked in the direction I pointed, frowned slightly, then said, "It's late. Let me walk you through this alley." After saying that, he suddenly remembered something. "Wait a moment, I forgot my headphones in the library. Don't wander off, I'll be right back." I nodded, standing still and waiting for him. But not long after, I felt a scrutinizing gaze, making me nauseous, stuck to me. I looked around and saw a menacing-looking man eyeing me up and down. My heart tightened. I immediately turned to leave, but another person blocked my path. The two men surrounded me. The one in the plaid shirt, reeking of alcohol, slurred, "Alone, are we, pretty girl? Or how about you come have a few drinks with us?" Alarms blared in my head. I quietly gripped the self-defense spray in my pocket. I tried to stay calm and said, "No, I'm not going." Hearing this, they pressed closer. The man in the plaid shirt even reached out towards me. Seizing the moment, suppressing my nausea, I suddenly pulled out the spray and directly sprayed it into his face. As he clutched his eyes and screamed, I turned and ran towards the library. The other guy reacted, cursed, and chased after me. Just then, William James returned. Seeing me in danger, he rushed over, grabbed my hand, and pulled me behind him. He held my shoulder, quickly checking, "Are you hurt?" I shook my head. Just as I was about to say something, a pained scream suddenly rang out from behind. I turned around. Nathaniel Tate, who hadn't picked up my calls all day, was grappling with the two drunk men. He had been accustomed to fighting since childhood, and his moves were ruthless. Every punch landed squarely on flesh. After subduing the two men, Nathaniel Tate grabbed one by the hand. The viciousness in his eyes hadn't completely receded. He looked at me. "Which of his hands touched you just now?" His words stopped short. His gaze fell upon the hand that was tightly gripping mine and William James's. William James looked at the blood on the ground, then frowned and pulled me back a bit further. Then he gently asked me, "Were you hurt just now?" Although I had been quite calm when I used the spray, this was, after all, the first time I had encountered such a situation. I tried to suppress my emotions, shaking my head, and wanted to pull my hand away from William James to go check on Nathaniel Tate. But William James was still worried, holding me back and asking, "Should we tell your aunt and uncle about this?" The wall behind me clearly separated Nathaniel Tate and me into two distinct realms of light and shadow. He stood in the darkness, silently watching William James and me for a long time. By the end, all the viciousness and anger in his eyes had completely disappeared. Only a chilling silence remained. He raised a hand to wipe a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth, let out a self-deprecating laugh, then turned and walked away. A moment of panic flared in my heart. I quickly and seriously told William James, "I'm fine. No need to tell my parents. I need to go find my boyfriend first." With that, I pulled my hand away from his and ran straight towards Nathaniel Tate. When I found him, I lifted his face, carefully checking him from head to toe. He had a wound on his face and another on his shoulder. Nathaniel Tate didn't say a word from beginning to end, just stood there letting me examine him. I sniffled softly, taking his hand. "Let's go to the hospital and get these bandaged." Finally, he reacted, pulling his hand away, his voice cold and indifferent. "No need." It was then that I noticed. Just a few days ago, I had struggled to get his annoyance level down to 90%. Now it had shot up to 99%. Was it because he felt I was causing him trouble, making him hate me even more? That made sense. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't have been hurt. Thinking of this, I suddenly felt weary. It seemed I had always brought trouble to Nathaniel Tate. Looking at his cold, aloof face, for the first time in my life, I began to wonder, was my relentless clinging a burden to Nathaniel Tate? In the end, I still resolutely dragged Nathaniel Tate to the hospital for a full checkup. While waiting for the results, he just sat silently on a chair. I held the lab report in my hand, confirming he had nothing serious, and finally let out a sigh of relief. But just as I was about to go back to him, someone blocked my path. It was a very well-groomed woman. She meticulously observed me for a few seconds, then asked, "Are you Sophia?" I was slightly wary, but still nodded. She led me to a small pavilion nearby, then got straight to the point. "I am Nathaniel Tate's mother. He was accidentally swapped at birth and has now finally been recognized by the Tate family." As she spoke, she handed me a business card for the Tate family in City A. I'm sure you've heard of them. A sense of foreboding rose in my heart. Sure enough, the next moment, Nathaniel Tate's mother looked directly at me and said coldly, "Nathaniel Tate cannot stay with you forever. He has to enter a marriage alliance for the sake of the family. Tell me, how much money will it take for you to leave Nathaniel Tate?" I was stunned. I never expected a plot device only seen in TV dramas to happen to me. The system, upon hearing this, hastily advised me in my head, Sophia Maxwell. At this moment, you must say, "I don't need money, only love, to show Nathaniel Tate your determination. Think about our conquest mission. Completing it gets you the $1.25 million reward." But right after that, Nathaniel Tate's mother spoke again. She directly pushed a card in front of me, saying coldly, $2.5 million. Is that enough?" Her tone was indifferent, as if it were just a trivial amount. And at this moment, I clearly realized the immense gap that existed between Nathaniel Tate and me after he was reunited with the Tate family. Seeing my lack of response, she calmly dropped another bombshell. Not satisfied. Then $3.75 million, $3 times the mission reward. The system was completely shaken. Wait, why is she setting market prices like this? How are we supposed to play like this? Afterwards, I took Nathaniel Tate back to his apartment. The moment we stepped inside, before he could even say anything, I proactively stood on my tiptoes and kissed his lips. His entire body stiffened, but he didn't try to avoid me. I was about to kiss him again, but he awkwardly turned his face away, his voice hoarse. Sophia, what do you really think of me? Let me tell you, I will absolutely not dye my hair black for you again, nor will I wear those damn glasses. I hadn't expected him to still be bothered by those past incidents. I quickly nodded, hesitantly replying, Okay, I understand. I won't force you anymore. That night, remembering the wound on his hand, I personally went into the kitchen to make a late-night meal. Of course, the result was nothing special. Nathaniel Tate looked at my red, burned fingertip, then quickly looked away, chuckling wryly. Don't think that just because you look pitiful, you can appease my anger. He tasted a spoonful of soup and coldly commented, It's too salty. Don't make these things again. He very rarely spoke such harsh words to me. I tried to coax him for a long time, but he still didn't seem to calm down. I took a deep breath, looked at him seriously, and finally uttered the words I had been thinking about all night. I really won't do it anymore. Nathaniel Tate suddenly froze. What do you mean? I paused for a moment, then softly said, Let's break up, Nathaniel Tate. Congratulations, you're free now. Hearing Sophia say that, Nathaniel Tate was momentarily bewildered. Break up, freedom. For an entire year, he had been a substitute, with black hair, black-rimmed glasses, and buttons fastened all the way up to his neck. No more skipping school, no more fighting, suppressing his temper, trying his best to play the gentle boyfriend she wanted. And now she was telling him he was free. On what grounds? He could tolerate being a substitute, so on what grounds could Sophia just say break up and break up? Was it just because her gentle childhood friend had returned that she was so eager to get rid of him, this substitute? Nathaniel Tate thought he had been understanding enough. From beginning to end, he had only questioned her once, on the night William James returned. But it seemed that very incident pushed her further away. She no longer clung to him, no longer bossed him around. So he tried to pretend nothing had happened, never mentioning the substitute issue again. Yet she still didn't need him. After breaking free from him, would Sophia go find William James? Would she also act spoiled with William James? Would she hold his hand, hug him, even kiss him? Just thinking about those things made Nathaniel Tate even more annoyed, almost to the point of going crazy. He frantically pulled her into a tight embrace, opening his mouth to say something. But then he heard Sophia bury her face in his neck, softly saying, her voice choked with sobs, I'm sorry. What I did before really annoyed you. I won't bother you anymore. Hearing this, Nathaniel Tate was almost angry enough to laugh. Finally, he gritted his teeth and uttered one sentence. Fine then. He gradually calmed down, thinking, if she wants to break up, then break up. It was also good timing. Nathaniel Tate would no longer humble himself as a substitute. Afterwards, my life gradually returned to peace. Nathaniel Tate, freed from a troublesome girlfriend like me, wholeheartedly dedicated himself to the Tate group. He seemed much busier than before, and his presence at school was rarely seen. Until one day, I accidentally saw a news article pop up on my phone. I clicked on it, and it turned out to be an announcement that the Tate family had officially canceled their strategic marriage alliance with a partner. The next time I saw him was 3 months later. My best friend nudged me, gesturing forward. Look, who's that? I looked up and saw Nathaniel Tate, tall and well-built, standing in the middle of the cafeteria, so prominent it was hard not to notice him. He still had metallic pink hair, but this time, he was wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses on his face. I didn't look any longer, quickly averting my gaze. I thought it was just a chance encounter. To my surprise that evening, as I was studying until the library closed, I saw Nathaniel Tate also walking out, holding 2 books in his hand. He had changed into a different outfit, a light gray knitted sweater, black pants, paired with the 2 books. His whole demeanor exuded gentleness and calmness. Remembering the unpleasant night we had, we implicitly understood each other, and neither of us initiated a greeting. Yet in the following days, I saw him almost every day in the library. He also seemed to have started studying seriously, diligently improving his grades. But all of that no longer concerned me. Sometimes during holidays or weekends at home, I would go to the nearby city library. William James also often came there to read. Gradually, I became closer to him. Sometimes when it was dark, William James would wait for me a bit and then drive me home. However, every time I chatted with him, I always felt a chill on my neck, as if someone's eyes were following me. I didn't pay it much mind, and the next day I went to the city library as usual. As I took my cup out to get water, I saw a figure from a distance, with their back turned to me, wearing a gray jacket identical to the one William James had worn yesterday. My reflex was to think it was William James. I walked over and gently tapped his shoulder, casually asking, "William James, are you also getting water?" The figure remained silent for a long time. After I had filled my cup with water, finding it strange, I tapped his shoulder again. "William James." Finally, the person turned around, and a familiar face appeared under the light. Nathaniel Tate's metallic pink hair had, at some point, been dyed black again. My eyes met his, and I was momentarily speechless. Nathaniel Tate looked at my stunned expression, then chuckled. "Student, it seems you've mistaken your childhood friend." That day ended with me running away in a panic. A few more days passed, and I received an announcement to attend a club party. Only upon arriving did I realize there were people from other clubs, and Nathaniel Tate was among them. Although I had told the system I was giving up on the conquest mission, the system still wouldn't let go. So I still saw the annoyance level above his head. It was still glaring red, almost maxed out. I averted my gaze, finding a seat a little further away from him. The party was in full swing when someone suggested playing Truth or Dare. The club president pulled me in for a few rounds. At first, I was lucky and didn't get chosen. But later on, my luck ran out and I had to face a dare. The card required me to kiss someone present at the party. Some people knew about Nathaniel Tate and me, and their eyes darted between us. But I didn't look at him. I just picked up a glass of wine and said, "I'll take 3 penalty shots." The president, unaware of the situation, also found the dare a bit much, so he didn't say anything. Later, I couldn't avoid drinking a few more glasses. By the time the party ended, I was feeling a bit tipsy. The president supported me and asked, "Who didn't drink? Take Sophia home." As soon as he finished speaking, someone stepped forward and took me from the president's hand. But I had already called my best friend earlier, so I pulled myself out of that person's arms. "No need, someone is coming to pick me up." The person froze, then chuckled wryly. "Who's coming to pick you up, William James?" I reacted half a beat late, vaguely mumbling a hum. That person then took my hand, leaned down, and said in a low, husky voice, "I am William James. Come on, I'll take you home." I squinted at the person in front of me. He was wearing that gray jacket, black hair, and his eyes behind the glasses stared unblinkingly at me. Feeling the familiar woody scent on him, I instinctively felt at ease and followed him. After walking a short distance, I suddenly remembered he had just said he was William James. I stopped, fighting off my drunkenness, and intently stared at the face in front of me for a moment. Then I shook my head and honestly said, "No, that's not right. You're not William James." The moment I finished speaking, the person in front of me suddenly lost control, gritting his teeth and asking, "Why can't it be me? The hair, the way I'm dressed, the accessories. What's different? I also met you when we were little. On what grounds do you only see him as your childhood friend?" My half-drunk brain completely failed to process those rapid-fire questions. Nathaniel Tate seemed to suddenly understand something. "I get it now, it's because I'm not gentle enough." He pulled me into a deserted stairwell corner, lifted my face, leaned down, and gently rubbed his nose against my cheek. His low voice deliberately softened, Nathaniel Tate coaxing me, "Little Ha, my darling, can you try to like me a little too?" His coaxing made my head spin. In my dazed state, I even imagined we were back to before we broke up. So I directly lifted my head and kissed him, replying, "The person I like from beginning to end has always been you." Nathaniel Tate's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. He gripped my hand tightly, as if holding on to the small bit of affection he had managed to steal. Finally, he lowered his eyes with a self-deprecating laugh. "You must be so drunk that you're seeing me as William James. Otherwise, how could you like me?" I tried my best to stay sober, clearly hearing what he had just said. Then I asked doubtfully, "Nathaniel Tate, what are you talking about? I kissed you. What does that have to do with William James?" This time Nathaniel Tate really froze. Kissed me? Why did you kiss me? I replied as if it were the most obvious thing, because I like you, of course. He pressed on, like what, this outfit? Hearing this, I became even more confused. Why would he think that? Even though my head was spinning, I didn't want him to misunderstand, so I explained. It has nothing to do with your outfit. The person I like is you, the real you. Understand? The moment I finished speaking, Nathaniel Tate was silent for a very long time. Just then, the system suddenly shrieked. Sophia Maxwell, look, his annoyance level has suddenly dropped by half. But I no longer had the presence of mind to pay attention to such things. My alcohol tolerance was originally poor, and my stomach churned uncomfortably. I finally couldn't hold it in and rushed to the bathroom to throw up. After vomiting in a daze, I felt someone carry me and place me in a car. The car stopped, and I was carried out again, placed on a sofa. Nathaniel Tate went into the kitchen to make hangover soup, waiting for it to cool before bringing it to me. Smelling ginger, I didn't want to drink it, but the spoon was still brought to my lips. I suddenly felt annoyed, my temper flared, and I directly knocked the spoon away. Only after knocking it away did I realize I probably shouldn't have done that. What if it annoyed him even more? I pressed my lips together, about to say something. Nathaniel Tate had already stood up to get another spoon. His voice showed no impatience, familiar and coaxing. Sweetheart, I added some honey. Drink a little, okay? Seeing him like this, I grew bolder. I made him get my clothes, squeeze toothpaste for me. Even wiping my face, he did for me. After all that, Nathaniel Tate quietly carried me to bed. Surrounded by his comforting scent, I finally drifted off to sleep. Waking up the next morning, no one was beside me. I rubbed my forehead, remembering how I had, in my drunken state, bossed him around last night. I couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. Just then, Nathaniel Tate, wearing an apron, walked in and called me, Awake already? Get up and eat breakfast. I looked at him. The first thing I noticed was that the annoyance level above his head was only half of what it was. Why did it drop? I pondered for a long time, finally remembering he had said something about not wanting to be William James's substitute. The system in my head tentatively spoke up. Sophia Maxwell, perhaps we've been mistaken from the start. Nathaniel Tate isn't annoyed because you act up. Perhaps he's annoyed because he misunderstood himself as a substitute. The main system recovered last night. You can check other stats now. Since I had been on this conquest mission for a year, I couldn't help but ask about the stats. The system reported them one by one. Affection level, 100%. Possessiveness, 100%. Conquest progress, 99%. Referring to the conquest progress, the system exclaimed, It's the first time I've seen such high progress after a breakup. What does that mean? It means if you just propose getting back together now, he might hand over his entire family fortune to you. After saying that, the system still wouldn't give up. Sophia Maxwell, do you want to accept this conquest mission again? The reward can be increased to $1.67 million. I fell into complete silence. That day, after Nathaniel Tate's mother met me, I held that card and sat in a daze for a long time. In the end, I put it away and haven't touched a single cent of it since. And now, those high 100% numbers floated before my eyes. It completely muddled my thoughts. So Nathaniel Tate had always liked me. He had never found me annoying or thought I was overdoing it. I stared blankly at his busy back in the kitchen. His compliant black hair fell by his cheek. He sensed my gaze. He casually coaxed, Dinner's almost ready, just sit tight for a bit. I took a deep breath, finally making up my mind at this moment. All right, I don't need the $3.75 million anymore. The system's $1.67 million is still better. A little saving, and it's enough to support another Nathaniel Tate. It's also enough to take care of my parents in their old age. Having thought it through, the lingering gloom of the past few days vanished. I felt completely relieved. So when Nathaniel Tate brought out the food, I called him over. Now that I understood the misunderstanding between us, I didn't want to prolong it. I said seriously, Nathaniel Tate, last night, even though I was drunk, everything I said was true. From beginning to end, the only person I like is you. William James and I are not close. That night he came back to the country and drove me home. It was only because my parents had been drinking and couldn't drive. So they asked him for help. I never expected it to cause such a misunderstanding for you. Almost with every sentence I spoke, the annoyance level above his head dropped a notch. Finally, I looked straight into his eyes, enunciating each word. You can be yourself. You don't need to emulate anyone. No matter how you are, I like you. The moment those words fell, I heard the system's voice yell, "Ding! Congratulations, Sophia Maxwell, conquest successful." Nathaniel Tate looked directly into my eyes, then, uncharacteristically, his hand twitched and he quickly looked away. Then he reached out and pulled me into his arms, burying his head in my neck. His voice dropped and he softly asked, "Then why did you want to break up with me?" I honestly replied, "Because I thought you were angry because you thought I was too clingy and too annoying." Nathaniel Tate heard this, incredulous. "Why would you think that?" I then asked him back, "Then every day I made you do this and that, and I controlled you in every way, didn't you find it annoying?" This time he answered very quickly, "Of course not." He frowned deeply. "Who told you that? Who is trying to sow discord?" I cleared my throat softly, pretending to be calm. "No one, I just made it up myself." Nathaniel Tate lifted my face, his eyes unusually serious. "Sophia, I wasn't angry because you clung to me. I was angry because you wanted me to become someone else." His voice became a little hoarse. "I thought in your eyes I was just a shadow. I thought that as soon as that person returned, you wouldn't need me anymore." I was stunned. It turned out that from beginning to end, I wasn't the only one feeling insecure. I wrapped my arms around his waist, softly saying, "I never saw you as anyone's shadow, nor did I ever want you to replace anyone. Back then, when I made you dye your hair black and wear glasses, it was just because I was foolish. I liked you, but I wasn't confident enough that you would truly like me, so I wanted to turn you into the kind of person I thought was safe." Nathaniel Tate froze. I continued, "I thought if you were a little more gentle, a little more respectable, you wouldn't leave me. But I forgot, the person I liked was the old you, the silver-haired, arrogant youth, the person who, even in a crowd, made it impossible for me to look away." Nathaniel Tate tightened his embrace. After a long time, he finally spoke softly. "I never found you annoying. No matter how much you acted up, I just felt like I was in love. It's just that I was scared." He paused for a moment. "Scared that I wasn't the person you truly wanted." Hearing that, my heart melted. I tiptoed and kissed the corner of his lips. "Now you know, the person I want from beginning to end has always been you." Outside the window, sunlight streamed in, casting a soft glow on his black hair. This time, he was no longer anyone else. He was just Nathaniel Tate, and the person I chose. Afterwards, I frankly told Nathaniel Tate about his mother offering me money. Hearing this, he simply said, "Yes, I know. I didn't handle the Tate family matters well enough, allowing them to affect you. It won't happen again." I then took out the card and gave it to him, telling him to return it to his mother. After all, I didn't follow her original agreement. Nathaniel Tate casually twirled the card in his hand and asked me again, "For me, you don't need the $3.75 million either." I nodded, my heart aching. He chuckled, leaned down, and kissed me. "Poor little thing." I shook my head. "Not poor at all. I have money now, too." After the system left, I told him all about the conquest mission. Finishing, I winked. "Even though I don't have $3.75 million, I still have $1.67 million to support you." Nathaniel Tate lowered his eyes to look at me, then leaned down and kissed me again. After the kiss, he took out a stack of documents and gave them to me. They were share transfer papers. Seeing my bewildered look, he explained, "I can't let you lose out like this. The dividends from these shares are even more than $3.75 million. A smile flickered in his eyes. "So, when you first pursued me, you were thinking about money. Good thing I have a lot of money, you're Nathaniel Tate." Actually, Nathaniel Tate had met Sophia when they were very young. At that time, due to being accidentally swapped at birth, he grew up in a poor rural area. His father drank and gambled all day, and would get drunk and hit people. His mother couldn't stand it and left with another man. All the farm work and household chores were shouldered by an 8-year-old Nathaniel Tate alone. The first time he met Sophia was at a small convenience store in the village. She had been frail since childhood and was sent to the countryside to recover. Her family doted on her immensely. The little girl held a pile of candies and snacks, having paid for them without a second thought. Nathaniel Tate, on the other hand, pulled out the last few coins from his pocket. He bought a bottle of pesticide, his gaze pausing on her for a moment, then he walked away indifferently. As he stepped out of the store, Sophia proactively ran up to him to strike up a conversation. She offered him the lollipop in her hand, then curiously pointed at the bottle. "Big brother, what kind of water is this? I want to taste it too." Nathaniel Tate replied expressionlessly, "It's pesticide used to kill bugs in the fields. People who drink it will die." Sophia blinked. "So if bugs drink it, they die too," he nodded. She immediately clung to him, insisting on watching him spray the vegetables. But she was too frail. She accidentally touched the bottle cap, and her hand immediately turned red and stung. The bottle of pesticide also spilled completely onto the ground. Sophia pouted, almost crying. Nathaniel Tate had no choice but to coax her, frantically applying medicine to her hand. That entire day, he couldn't get any work done, just hovered around her. Until she smiled again, her pigtails swaying, waving at him. "Big brother, see you tomorrow." After she left, Nathaniel Tate finally lowered his gaze in a daze. He saw the empty pesticide bottle on the ground. He froze. When he bought that bottle of pesticide, he had originally intended to drink it all to end his life. It was just that the next day, he waited a very long time in front of the convenience store, but Sophia never appeared. He later found out she had returned to the city. Her promise of "see you tomorrow" was never fulfilled. But from then on, Nathaniel Tate no longer thought about drinking pesticide. He began to climb step by step. High school, then university. Because he had to deal with the debt collectors for his father, he often returned to the dorm with injuries. Over time, he earned the title of school's big shot until he met Sophia again. Many years passed and she no longer remembered him, yet she started pursuing him again. At that time, Nathaniel Tate's face was indifferent, but in his heart, there was a mix of bewilderment and surprise, as if he had been struck by good fortune. Initially, when Sophia asked him to change his style, he didn't think much of it, until one day he accidentally saw one of her photo albums. It documented her growth, and almost every early page featured a young boy. Their gestures were naturally intimate, clearly very familiar. He asked her best friend, Lam Neem, and only received a casual reply. "Oh, that's probably Sophia's neighbor's son. They played together since they were little. He's very smart and is studying abroad now." That day, Nathaniel Tate sat in silence for a very long time. For the first time, a feeling of panic and annoyance arose in his heart. Later, he finally met that neighbor's son. Black hair, black-rimmed glasses, gentle and rational. On his first night back in the country, he personally drove Sophia home. Recalling her recent aloofness and unusual behavior, Nathaniel Tate's annoyance level almost peaked. He had to admit, perhaps he was just a substitute. The day Sophia suggested breaking up, all the frustration and insecurity he had suppressed for so long poured out. He angrily said, "Fine then, if you want to break up, let's break up." After the breakup, he forced himself to pour all his energy into the Tate family company. But the first thing he did after gaining authority was to cancel the marriage alliance. And everywhere he went, in every struggle, he was still the one to make concessions first. He dyed his hair black again, just so she would look at him one more time. He even calmly, yet madly, thought, if he underwent plastic surgery to look like William James, would Sophia look at him forever? That night, at the reunion, he was like a thief. Taking advantage of her drunkenness, he pretended to be William James, discarding his true self just to steal a little affection from her. Fortunately, she gave it to him, and even told him he didn't need to steal it. It was always meant for him. As soon as the misunderstanding was cleared, Nathaniel Tate was almost overwhelmed by the immense joy. In an instant, he remembered meeting her when he was 7 years old. At that time, he used his last few coins to buy a bottle of pesticide. But that day, before death arrived, it was her flying pigtails and clear laughter. From then on, for the rest of his life, he willingly chose to live for Sophia.